Have you ever walked into a room and forgotten why you were there? Or looked at your phone and thought, why do I have 12 alarms set and no idea what they're for? You're not alone. At 60, 70, or beyond, there are moments when life starts to feel like a mystery novel with a few missing pages. And what's most puzzling isn't always the aches in the knees or the sudden preference for soft lighting. It's the things that used to make perfect sense but now don't add up at all. For example, how did we go from making phone calls on a rotary dial to now needing to update 5 different apps just to say hello? Or when did eating a slice of bread suddenly feel like a health risk? It's like the world changed overnight while we were busy living it. Now, I'm not here to complain or say everything's gone downhill. Far from it. In fact, this video is about empowerment. Because when things stop adding up, it's not a sign that we're falling behind. It's a sign that we're waking up. Waking up to what truly matters and shedding what no longer serves us. And let's be honest, at this age, we've earned the right to question the nonsense and rewrite the rules. So, let's talk about it. Let's take a closer look at some of the things that once seemed normal but now feel completely upside down, and what we can do about them. Because if something doesn't add up anymore, maybe it's time we stopped trying to make sense of it and started living smarter instead. Let's begin with something simple but deeply personal: how time has shifted. Remember when a full day felt like a full day? You'd wake up, make breakfast, go to work, run errands, maybe even help the kids with homework, and still have time to unwind in the evening. These days, you glance at the clock and it's 9 a.m., blink, and somehow it's dinner time. But the funny thing is, you didn't even do much. So what happened? Dr. Andrew Weil, a pioneer in integrative medicine, explains that as we age, our perception of time actually speeds up. It's a biological phenomenon, not just something in our heads. Our brain processes fewer new experiences, so time seems to fly faster. That's why routines can make the days blur together. But novelty makes time slow down. So, if time feels like it's slipping through your fingers, one simple fix is to introduce something new each day. It doesn't have to be grand. A new walking path, a different breakfast, trying Tai Chi in the backyard, learning how to video call the grandkids without accidentally flipping the camera to the ceiling. These moments, even the silly ones, stretch out time in the best way. They give the brain something fresh to hold on to. And isn't that what life's about? Collecting new memories, not just counting days. Now, let's talk about something else that no longer adds up: the myth of constant productivity. There was a time when being busy was worn like a badge of honor. We'd measure our worth by how many meetings we attended, how clean the house was, or whether we returned every phone call before bedtime. But now, there are days when just getting out of bed and putting on socks in the right order feels like a win. And you know what? That's okay. In fact, it's more than okay. Dr. Frank Lipman, a well-known functional medicine expert, says that one of the most powerful shifts we can make after 60 is to move from doing to being. Slower mornings, more stillness, more appreciation. Not because we're slowing down, but because we're finally aligning with our true rhythm. Take a moment and think, when was the last time you let yourself do nothing without guilt? Just sit with your thoughts, watch the birds, or sip a cup of tea without checking your phone. We've been taught to value hustle, but now we're learning to value peace. And that's a beautiful recalibration. Not everything needs to be accomplished in a day. Not everything needs to be achieved to have value. Sometimes, rest is the most productive thing we can do. Now, let's touch on something that really gets under the skin. How food became a battlefield. Once upon a time, A slice of toast with butter and jam was just that. A simple, satisfying breakfast. Now, it's a math equation. Is this gluten-free? What about sugar content? Should I use ghee instead of butter? Even bananas have become controversial. Bananas, our loyal, dependable fruit friend. Nutritionist Joy Bauer, from NBC's Today Show, says the key at our age isn't restriction, it's balance. The problem isn't the occasional cookie. It's the stress we attach to every bite. That stress can actually affect our digestion and energy more than the food itself. So instead of chasing the perfect diet, focus on nourishment, colorful fruits, hearty vegetables, clean proteins, but also joy. Eat the slice of cake at your granddaughter's birthday without mentally calculating the carbs. Sip wine on the porch if it makes your heart happy. A healthy life isn't just about what we remove, it's about what we savor. When things don't add up anymore, like why a tomato now has a label on it, or why oatmeal costs more than a steak, it's not about giving up, it's about getting wise. About seeing through the noise and tuning in to what really nourishes you. And speaking of nourishment, let's take a moment to talk about a different kind of hunger. The hunger for connection. Now, I don't mean just having people around. I mean real connection. The kind that makes you feel seen, heard, and valued. Because somewhere along the way, as we aged, the world quietly started telling us that we should be winding down, stepping back, or worse, becoming invisible. It's subtle, but it's there. Fewer phone calls, less involvement. That sense that the spotlight has shifted away, and that's one of those things that really doesn't add up anymore. You see, when we were younger, we were constantly surrounded by people, at work, with the kids, in the neighborhood. Connection happened naturally. But after 60, the pace slows, the calendar clears, and suddenly, you're left wondering, where did everyone go? Dr. Vivek Murthy, the U.S. Surgeon General, has spoken often about loneliness being one of the most significant health risks for older adults, right up there with smoking and obesity. That's how important connection is to our health. But here's the truth they don't tell you. Meaningful connection isn't always about the number of people in your life. It's about depth. You can find joy in a morning chat with the mailman, a 5-minute laugh with your barber, or a heartfelt letter sent to an old friend. Sometimes it's not about adding new people to your circle. It's about deepening the bonds you already have. And here's something that might surprise you. A recent study from Stanford found that older adults actually experience more emotional well-being than younger people, because we're more selective. We choose relationships that truly matter and let go of the ones that drain us. That's not isolation. That's wisdom. So, if you're feeling like the world's gotten quieter, ask yourself, what kind of connection do I need right now? Maybe it's rekindling an old hobby with someone who shares your passion. Maybe it's joining a walking group, or even just showing up at the community center once a week and seeing what unfolds. Because we were never meant to go through life alone, especially not now, when we have more to share than ever before. Now that we're on the topic of presence, let's talk about another thing that stopped making sense somewhere along the way. This idea that aging is something to be fixed. You've seen the ads. Erase wrinkles. Turn back the clock. Look 30 again. As if time is some kind of problem we're supposed to correct with creams, pills, or procedures. And let's be honest, it's exhausting. When did aging become something shameful? Something we had to hide or fight against? The truth is, every line on your face tells a story. Every gray hair is a chapter of survival, of growth, of love and heartbreak and resilience. Why would we want to erase that? Dr. Christine Northrup, a women's health expert, says aging is not a decline, it's an evolution. The body may slow, but the spirit deepens. And what a powerful thing that is. Because now, We don't chase approval. We've learned to give it to ourselves. We don't seek status. We seek peace. We don't need to be seen by the world to know our worth. And yes, take care of yourself. Move your body, nourish it, dress in a way that makes you feel radiant. But do it because you love your body, not because you're trying to shrink it or disguise it. You don't owe youth to anyone. What you have now is something far more valuable: wisdom, presence, and perspective. And maybe the most freeing realization of all is this: we don't have to prove ourselves anymore. We've already climbed mountains. We've already survived storms. The rest of life isn't about racing ahead. It's about savoring what's here. But that brings me to another thing that stopped making sense somewhere along the way. And this one is a biggie. The idea that slowing down means giving up. You know what I mean. That little voice in the back of your head saying, "Don't try that. You're too old now. Leave it to the younger folks." Whether it's learning to play piano, traveling to a new country, or starting a side business from your kitchen table, somewhere along the way, society started whispering that our dreams had an expiration date. But here's the truth: that voice is lying to you. Take Ernestine Shepherd. She didn't start bodybuilding until she was 56. By 80, she was winning competitions and training others daily. Or how about Chef Leah Chase, who cooked for presidents and celebrities and didn't slow down well into her 90s? And let's not forget Laura Ingalls Wilder, who didn't publish Little House on the Prairie until she was 65. Age isn't a limitation. It's a launch pad. The only thing slowing us down is the belief that it's too late. And the beauty of this stage in life is that we get to choose what we want to do without all the noise of expectations. You want to paint? Start painting. You want to sing? Even if your voice cracks? Sing anyway. You've got nothing to prove, but everything to enjoy. That shift from performance to purpose, that's where real fulfillment lives. That's where freedom begins. And here's the thing: people might raise an eyebrow. They might say, "At your age, let them." Because what they don't realize is that your age is your power. You've already earned your stripes. You've already built a life. Now you get to live it in a way that's fully yours. So, the next time something doesn't add up, like why society thinks dreams have a deadline, just smile and walk right past it. You've got better things to do. Now, let's take a moment and breathe. Because so far, we've talked about how time feels different, how productivity has a whole new meaning, how food became a maze, how connections shifted, and how aging became something to battle rather than embrace. And we've started to peel those ideas back, to see them clearly for what they are. And now, let's keep going. Because the journey doesn't stop here. If anything, this is where it gets interesting, where the pieces that didn't seem to add up finally start making sense in their own beautiful, unconventional way. One of the strangest things that stops making sense after 60 is this idea that more is always better. More stuff, more plans, more information. But somewhere along the way, we begin to notice that it's not abundance that brings peace. It's simplicity. You open a drawer and find 10 can openers. You scroll through a sea of unread emails. Your calendar has empty days, yet your mind feels cluttered. Why? Because the noise isn't always outside. It builds up inside too. But here's the good news. You have full permission to let it go. Marie Kondo became a household name for helping people declutter their homes. But for those of us in our 60s and beyond, it's not just about closets, it's about life. We start to realize that the things we used to collect, trinkets, trophies, even old grudges, no longer serve us. What matters now is clarity, peace, purpose. Imagine waking up in a space where everything you see brings joy or function. Imagine days filled with just the things and people that truly matter. That's not empty. That's freedom. And with every drawer you clear, every commitment you gently let go of, you make more room for what truly fits your life now. And this leads to something else that no longer adds up: how little attention we used to give to joy. Think back. We spent decades working, caring for others, checking boxes, and making sure everything ran smoothly. And while that brought its own satisfaction, how often did we pause to ask, what makes me feel deeply, truly alive? Dr. Brené Brown talks about the importance of wholehearted living, choosing joy not as a reward, but as a practice. And that's something we can start today, not someday. Not when the weather's perfect or when the laundry is done. Today, joy is not always a big moment. It's your feet in the grass. It's dancing in the kitchen with the radio on. It's calling someone just to say, I thought of you. It's taking yourself out for a cup of coffee and lingering in the sunshine, not rushing back because there's more important stuff to do. There isn't, not anymore. Because now, you get to choose joy on purpose, not as a byproduct, not as a fluke, but as a daily decision. And that brings me to one final thing that stopped making sense. Maybe the most important one of all. The idea that our best days are behind us. This one stings, doesn't it? You hear it in passing. Someone says, "Oh, I used to do that back in the day." Or, "I had a great time in my 20s. As if joy, excitement, passion, those things belong to youth and youth alone. But the truth? There are things you understand now that your younger self never could. You know how to slow down and really taste the moment. You've learned how to love deeper because you've lost. You listen better because you've lived through noise. You appreciate the little things because you know they're not so little. Aging isn't about losing time. It's about gaining depth, and no one can take that from you. Dr. Susan David, a Harvard psychologist, often says, discomfort is the price of admission to a meaningful life. And when you think about it, we've already paid the price. The struggles, the losses, the adjustments, they've all brought us to this wiser, more grounded version of ourselves. One who doesn't just live, but knows how to live. And yes, your body may move a little slower. Your eyes might need help reading the fine print. But your soul is richer than it's ever been. Your laugh lines are proof that you found joy even when life tried to steal it. Your scars, physical and emotional, are medals of survival. You're not less than who you were at 30. You're more. So, if something doesn't add up anymore, like why the world keeps pushing youth while ignoring the gifts of age, maybe it's time to rewrite the equation. Maybe it's time to look in the mirror and say, this is the life I've built. These are the years I've earned, and I'm not done yet. Because you're not. Far from it. You still have stories to tell, lessons to share, beauty to witness, love to give. The world doesn't need you to be younger. It needs you to be exactly who you are now. Honest, wise, unapologetically real. And if you've been doubting that, let this be your reminder. You're still growing, still evolving, still uncovering new ways to live and love and contribute. And there's nothing more powerful than that. So today, if something doesn't add up, don't try to fix it with the same old logic. Smile, take a deep breath, and trust yourself. You've come this far not by chance, but by strength. And the road ahead, well, it might just be the most meaningful part of the journey yet. Now, before you go, I'd love to hear from you. What's something in your life that doesn't add up anymore? And how have you made peace with it? Or changed course because of it? Share your story in the comments. You never know who you'll inspire. And if this video spoke to you, give it a like. Subscribe if you want more real conversations about life after 60, health, happiness, purpose, and everything in between. Because here, we're not chasing youth. We're celebrating life. Every wrinkle, every gray hair, every new chapter. Here's to living your best life at any age. And remember, it's never too late to start something beautiful.